There is nothing quite like the quiet peace of a backyard garden in the early morning. You walk out with your cup of coffee, the dew still clinging to the grass, expecting to see the first vibrant green shoots of your heirloom tomatoes or the delicate yellow blossoms of your summer squash. But as you bend down to inspect a leaf, your heart sinks. The underside of your tomato leaves are completely encrusted with tiny, pulsing clusters of green and yellow aphids. Just a few feet away, your cucumber leaves, which were perfectly healthy last weekend, are now riddled with tiny holes, looking like they have been blasted by a miniature shotgun. When you see this kind of devastation, your first instinct might be panic. It is incredibly frustrating to watch weeks of hard work, seed starting, and careful watering get wiped out in a matter of days by pests that are barely visible to the naked eye. Many gardeners immediately run to the nearest big box store to grab a bottle of chemical pesticide. They want a quick fix, a silver bullet that will wipe out every bug in sight. But most gardeners don't know this. Chemical pesticides are a dangerous trap. When you spray those harsh, synthetic chemicals in your garden, you are not just killing the bad bugs. You are also wiping out the beneficial insects, the ladybugs, the lacewings, the hoverflies, and the predatory wasps that are your garden's natural defense force. Even worse, you are putting chemical residues on the very food you plan to feed to your family. What is worse is that pests like aphids and whiteflies reproduce at an astronomical rate. A single female aphid can produce dozens of offspring a week without even needing a mate, and those offspring can start reproducing within days. When you use chemical sprays, the few pests that survive quickly develop immunity, passing those resistant genes down to the next generation. Before you know it, you have created a strain of super pests that chemicals can no longer touch, while your garden's natural predators have been completely eliminated. To make matters more complicated, pest damage often masquerades as other garden problems. Many well-meaning gardeners look at yellowing, curling leaves and assume their plants are suffering from a nutrient deficiency. They think the plant needs more nitrogen, more iron, or more water. Here is where the real secret begins. When soft-bodied pests like aphids, spider mites, or whiteflies colonize a plant, they do not just chew on the leaves. They insert their needle-like mouthparts directly into the plant's vascular system, sucking out the sugary sap and vital nutrients. This literally drains the life force from the plant, causing symptoms that look identical to nitrogen deficiency or severe drought stress. If you mistake pest damage for a nutrient deficiency and dump heavy fertilizers onto your soil, you are actually making the problem worse. The excess nitrogen causes the plant to put out rapid, tender new growth, which is the absolute favorite food of sucking pests. You are essentially setting up an all-you-can-eat buffet for the very insects that are destroying your garden. Before you reach for any commercial spray or dump unnecessary fertilizers into your soil, you need to understand that nature has already provided us with the perfect toolkit to handle these pests. By understanding the biological vulnerabilities of these insects, we can create a powerful, completely natural, and highly effective pest control solution right in our own kitchens. This method does not rely on toxic poisons that kill everything on contact. Instead, it works on sophisticated biological principles, repelling pests through intense sensory overload, disrupting their feeding behaviors, and physically stripping away their ability to cling to and feed on your plants. This is the exact approach used by experienced organic growers who have spent decades learning how to work with nature rather than against it. To build a truly effective natural pest control solution, we have to start with the botanical world's own defense mechanisms. Plants cannot run away from predators, so over millions of years, they have evolved complex chemical compounds to protect themselves. By extracting these compounds, we can create a powerful shield for our own garden crops. Our natural solution begins with two incredibly common pantry staples that possess extraordinary pest-repelling properties: garlic and cinnamon. Most people think of garlic as just a delicious culinary herb, but in the insect world, garlic is a zone of absolute terror. Garlic contains highly concentrated, natural sulfur compounds, the most potent of which is called allicin. Allicin is the compound responsible for garlic's pungent aroma and sharp taste. To a soft-bodied insect like an aphid, a whitefly, or a spider mite, allicin is an incredibly powerful sensory irritant. It completely overwhelms their highly sensitive olfactory receptors, making it impossible for them to locate their host plants. It disrupts their feeding behavior and drives them away from the treated leaves. To complement the garlic, we use cinnamon powder. Cinnamon is rich in a compound called cinnamaldehyde. While cinnamaldehyde has a mild, pleasant scent to humans, it acts as a highly effective natural repellent for a wide variety of pests. But cinnamon brings an even greater benefit to our mixture. When sap-sucking insects feed on your plants, they excrete a sticky, sugary liquid called honeydew. This honeydew coats the leaves and quickly becomes a breeding ground for a dark, unsightly fungus known as black sooty mold. This mold covers the leaf surface, blocking sunlight and preventing the plant from performing photosynthesis, which eventually starves the plant. The cinnamaldehyde in cinnamon possesses natural antifungal properties that help suppress the development of this mold, keeping your plant's leaves clean, healthy, and fully capable of absorbing sunlight. Let's begin preparing this botanical extract. We start with 500 milliliters of clean, room temperature water. It is best to use filtered water or rainwater if you have it, as municipal tap water often contains chlorine and chloramines that can slightly degrade the delicate organic compounds we're trying to extract. To this water, add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, which is about 2 to 3 grams. Next, add half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, which is about 1 gram. Once both powders are in the water, stir the mixture thoroughly. Now this is the step many people skip. You must let this mixture steep undisturbed for 48 hours. Many impatient gardeners try to heat the mixture on the stove to speed up the process, thinking that boiling water will extract the compounds faster. What happened when I tried that surprised me. The heat actually broke down the volatile emulsion compounds, rendering the garlic almost completely useless as a pest repellent. Cold, slow steeping is the absolute key here. It allows the water to gently and fully extract the active botanical compounds without damaging their delicate molecular structures. After the steeping period is complete, give the mixture one final, vigorous stir to ensure all the active compounds are evenly distributed. Next, you must filter the liquid. Use a fine mesh sieve, or even better, a clean piece of cheesecloth or a paper coffee filter. Slowly pour the mixture through the filter into a clean container, separating all the solid particles from the clear liquid. This filtration step is absolutely critical. If you leave even the tiniest particles of garlic or cinnamon powder in your solution, they will inevitably clog the fine nozzle of your spray bottle, turning your application process into a frustrating mess. By filtering it properly, you create a stable, clean liquid where the allicin and cinnamaldehyde are perfectly dissolved, ready to be applied as a flawless, even mist. Now that we have our potent botanical extract ready, we have to prepare the second half of our natural solution. If you were to spray just the garlic and cinnamon water directly onto your plants, you would find that it has very little lasting effect. Why? Because plant leaves are naturally covered in a protective, waxy barrier called the cuticle, which is designed to shed water. The water droplets would simply beat up and roll right off the leaves, taking all your hard-earned pest-repelling compounds with them down into the soil. To overcome this, we must create a physical emulsion that helps our botanical ingredients stick to the leaves, while simultaneously providing a direct, physical mechanism to control the pests. Here is where the real secret begins. We are going to combine our botanical extract with a physical barrier made of vegetable oil and a mild biodegradable soap. First, prepare another container with 500 milliliters of clean, room temperature water. To this water, add 5 milliliters, about 1 teaspoon, of standard vegetable oil. You can use canola oil, soybean oil, or even olive oil. The oil serves a dual purpose in our formula. First, it acts as a natural spreader sticker. It forms an incredibly thin, protective film over the leaf surface, which prevents our spray from evaporating too quickly or being washed away by a light morning dew. This vastly increases the contact time between our active botanical ingredients and the pests. Second, the oil has a direct physical effect on soft-bodied insects. These insects do not have lungs. Instead, they breathe through tiny pores on the sides of their bodies called spiracles. When the fine mist of oil coats these insects, it physically blocks their spiracles, effectively smothering them. However, as we all know, oil and water do not mix. If you simply pour vegetable oil into water, it will float to the top in large, separated droplets, resulting in an uneven spray that could potentially clog your bottle or put too much concentrated oil on a single leaf, causing it to burn. To solve this, we need an emulsifier. Add 3 to 5 milliliters of a mild biodegradable liquid soap or a pure Castile soap to your water and oil mixture. It is incredibly important to use a true, mild soap rather than a harsh synthetic dish detergent. Many modern dish soaps contain degreasers and chemical surfactants that are far too harsh for sensitive plant tissues and can strip away the leaf's natural waxy cuticle, leaving the plant highly vulnerable to dehydration and fungal diseases. A pure liquid Castile soap is the perfect choice. The soap molecules act as a bridge between the water and the oil, breaking down the oil into microscopic droplets that can remain suspended evenly throughout the liquid. But the soap is not just there to mix the oil. On its own, the soap plays a devastating role against soft-bodied pests. Insects like aphids and whiteflies have a very delicate, protective, waxy coating on their outer bodies that prevents them from drying out. When the soap comes into contact with these insects, it dissolves this waxy layer, causing them to rapidly dehydrate and lose their grip on the plant. Stir the water, oil, and soap mixture very gently. You want to avoid creating a thick head of soapy foam. Stir until you see the water turn a uniform, milky white color. This indicates that a stable emulsion has successfully formed. Once your emulsion is stable, slowly pour your filtered garlic and cinnamon botanical solution into the soapy water. Stir them together thoroughly. By combining these two mixtures, you have created a highly sophisticated, dual-action biological and physical pest management solution. You have the intense sensory repellent of garlic, the protective antifungal properties of cinnamon, the smothering action of the vegetable oil, and the cuticle dissolving power of the biodegradable soap, all working together in perfect harmony. With your complete solution thoroughly mixed, pour it into a high-quality spray bottle. For the best results, you want a sprayer that allows you to adjust the nozzle to a very fine mist. The size of the droplets is incredibly important. If the droplets are too large, they will simply run off the leaves and pool on the ground. A superfine mist, however, creates a uniform cloud of microscopic droplets that spread evenly across every square inch of the plant, maximizing coverage and ensuring that the active ingredients stay exactly where they are needed most. When you begin spraying, do not just walk by and give your plants a casual misting from above. This is the mistake that leads many beginners to believe natural remedies do not work. If you only spray the tops of the leaves, you are missing 90% of the pests. Pests like aphids, whiteflies, and spider mites are highly sensitive to heat and sunlight, so they naturally congregate, feed, and lay their eggs on the cool, shaded undersides of the leaves and deep within the leaf axils, the joint where the leaf stem meets the main branch. To apply this solution effectively, bend down and aim your spray nozzle upward. Thoroughly soak the undersides of every single leaf until the liquid just begins to drip off. Pay special attention to the tender young shoots at the very top of the plant. These soft growing tips are packed with sweet sap, making them the primary target for colonizing pests. Timing is also absolutely critical. Never spray this solution in the middle of a hot, sunny day. The combination of oil, soap, and intense midday sunlight can act like a magnifying glass, causing severe phototoxicity that will scorch and permanently damage your plant's leaves. Instead, apply the spray in the early morning, just as the sun is rising, or in the late afternoon when the sun's rays have lost their intensity. This timing gives the solution plenty of time to work on the leaves without the risk of sun scorch, and it avoids the heat of the day when evaporation rates are highest. What happened next when I first used this formula surprised me. I had a severe aphid infestation on my prize-winning pepper plants, and I was highly skeptical, but the results became visible just days later. On day 1, within hours of the first application, the aphids became completely sluggish. They stopped moving, and their feeding activity halted entirely. By day 3, after a couple of targeted applications, the vast majority of the pests had dried up and fallen off the leaves. The sticky honeydew residue began to wash away with the morning dew, and by day 7, My peppers were putting out a flush of vibrant, deep green new growth, completely free of pests. To achieve these kinds of results in your own garden, you must follow a consistent application schedule based on the severity of your pest problem. If you are dealing with a severe, active infestation, spray your plants once daily for the first 3 to 5 days. This consecutive treatment is necessary to break the rapid reproductive cycle of the pests. For a light or moderate infestation, spraying 2 to 3 times per week is usually more than enough to bring the population under control. Once your plants are clean and healthy, you can transition to a preventative schedule, spraying once every 7 to 10 days. This creates a continuous protective sensory barrier that deters any passing pests from choosing your garden as their next home. Always remember that this is a biological and physical management tool, not a toxic chemical poison. It does not work by instantly vaporizing every bug on contact. Instead, it works gently and systematically by repelling new pests, disrupting the feeding habits of existing ones, and creating a hostile environment that prevents them from thriving. For the absolute best results, combine this spray with good overall garden hygiene. Keep your garden beds free of weeds, inspect your leaves regularly, and practice crop rotation each season to prevent pest populations from building up in your soil. If you found this guide helpful and want to discover more time-tested organic gardening secrets that will help you grow the most abundant, healthy, and chemical-free garden of your life, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below sharing your own experiences with garden pests, or let me know how this natural garlic and cinnamon spray worked in your backyard. Happy gardening, and I will see you in the very next video.